Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight we look at more backlash during Pride Month. Plus, the public school board is calling it a safety measure as it decides to put a pause on holding public meetings in person. More powers for Mayor Drew Dilkens. The Ford government has officially given him strong mayor powers set to kick in very soon. And we check in on Safe Point, 2 months after the city's first drug consumption site opened up. We begin tonight with a disturbing hospital selfie that's led to criminal harassment charges. This here is the photo shared online. The man smiling in the photo is Bubba Pollock. He's the one facing charges after consistently harassing Britt LaRue online for her involvement in Pride events, eventually driving to Windsor to take a selfie with her terminally ill father at Hotel Dieu. That's who is in the bed. Pollock then took this photo and posted it on social media on Wednesday. After this, he was arrested by police in London and charged with criminal harassment. He's since been released and will attend court in Windsor later on. For more, we spoke to LaRue and her partner about how the situation has taken a toll.
I thought it was fake. Like, my heart sunk. Then I came back and I thought it was fake. And then when I came to the conclusion that it was real, it was just immediate fear for my father's life and then for my children's lives.
Yeah.
And then us, and then all of our community members, because I knew this is bigger than us right now.
Yeah.
It's the young kids in the community. It's the trans youth, it's the gay, queer youth that are going to see this, and we need to make sure. I don't want them frightened. I want them to know that this is not fear.
Yeah.
We're going to show love wins, and love is louder.
Yeah.
We did reach out to Pollock for comment, the London man who has been charged, but have not heard back. Meanwhile, a Windsor man is disappointed after a student tried to tear down his pride flag off of his front lawn.
We need to realize we need to do better.
Eric Morin already has the flag flying again, but here is video footage of the incident. A few students walk past his home. One of them then runs up to the pole, pulls the flag, tipping it over. Morin had anticipated something like this and had even bought a multi-pack of flags just in case. He says it's disheartening to see backlash during Pride.
It requires a sense of strength because it's always going to be out there. No matter whether it's vocal or not, it's got a little bit more juice right now. It's got a little bit more power behind it. But the most thing that you have to do to counteract that is to be there, be visible, be out, be proud, because there's going to be gay youth that don't believe or think they're alone. And I'm here, I'm loud, I'm out and proud.
Trustees with the local public school board are no longer allowing people to attend their public meetings in person. It's a temporary measure after they say unruly behavior is making some feel unsafe. The CBC's Jason Vio explains.
The public school board holds public meetings that members of the public can attend about twice a month. That's changing immediately. These doors will be locked for the time being. Why? Well, primarily because people inside during board meetings say they feel unsafe.
The hostility and the vitriol of some of the comments, and plus the interruptions and lack of regard for any rules of order, has created a really unsafe environment.
Excuse me.
Here's one instance last month when trustees tried to maintain order in the meeting. It eventually leads to a recess to get things back on track.
So I would suggest that the room be cleared if it continues. Thank you.
And it was very out of control. There was more than two people in the crowd that were yelling and just saying things that were inappropriate and should not be said. And I'll say it again, and I've said it quite a few times, that this is a meeting held in public. It's not a public meeting.
The tone of the meetings has really changed and threatened, and what we felt has threatened to our physical safety.
Thank you.
Sipkar says the disruptive way these meetings have been in the last few months impedes democracy more than temporarily barring in-person access. Instead, people can attend virtually. Still, one expert has concerns.
Some people will not have access to a computer to be able to watch the meetings, and that's why allowing in public attendance is simply an equality matter.
Windsor City Council is doing a review of its policies to end what it calls frivolous and dangerous behavior. Essex County Council just created new policies after pausing in-person meetings in favor of Zoom. So now people can attend those meetings in person. The public board's final meeting of the school year is on Tuesday, and those who want to observe can only do so online. That's until they develop a policy trustees say will make things less hostile. They'll be looking at things like when should someone be asked to leave, if they refuse, who will remove them, and the possibility of physical changes to the space so staff and trustees feel safer. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
The mayor of Windsor is set to get new powers next month. The Ford government is expanding strong mayor powers to more cities in Ontario. It's a move that previously fueled controversy when legislation was passed to boost mayoral powers in Toronto and Ottawa late last year. The CBC's Talia Ricci reports.
Housing Minister Steve Clark said the move to expand strong mayor powers is intended to help regions get shovels in the ground faster and deliver on the province's goal to build 1.5 million homes by 2031.
The 26 municipalities that are set to receive these powers are among the largest and fastest growing in our province.
A few of those cities include Markham, Milton, Whitby, and Brampton. Clark says the powers were extended to every community that enacted a housing pledge, but the minister wouldn't say if all 26 mayors actually want to use the strong mayor powers.
And all three levels of government need to roll up their sleeves and get some stuff done.
If I went to a resident and said that the power of a mayor is no different than a city councillor, they'd be shocked. And so, if anything, this aligns the powers of mayor of what the understanding of residents is.
Last fall, Toronto and Ottawa were both given strong mayor powers, which includes allowing mayors to propose housing-related bylaws and pass them with the support of only 1/3 of councillors, and to override council approval of bylaws that would prevent the creation of more homes. Strong mayors also have the responsibility of preparing and tabling their city's budget instead of council. At the time of the original announcement, 15 Toronto City councillors asked the province to scrap the bill, saying that council and residents should be the ones to decide on any changes to the governance of the city. Today, more councillors shared those concerns.
I wish there was more consultation, and we're already agreeing to the objectives for the province. We're building thousands of houses at Whitby. We're expanding our things, so we're achieving their objectives. So I question why we need these powers.
It's concerning, like we're all elected by the people to be their voice on council.
We do need to get more housing built, but that being said, that shouldn't negate the fact that healthy debate, discussion, and ultimately majority of council choosing to support or oppose a certain development is still very much needed.
The announcement also sparked criticism from the NDP.
This is not about housing. This is a power grab. This is about Doug Ford overriding majority vote governance in our municipalities, and that is frightening.
The heads of those 26 cities are set to get the new powers as of July 1st. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Windsor's first drug consumption and treatment site has been open for nearly 2 months now, and public health leaders say its performance is in line with others in Ontario. And as CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa reports, they're also a bit surprised with how people are using it.
Even though SafePoint is a space where people can use drugs, what the health unit is seeing is that slightly more are actually using it to access supports, things like mental health and addiction treatment or housing services.
Those that are engaging in the wraparound services, there's a good portion of them that are already feeling comfortable doing that. And in the mental health and addictions space, it takes a long time typically for people to feel comfortable enough to be able to make that change or make that step in the right direction. So we're very happy with where we're at.
Consumption sites face a lot of criticism. Often people think that these spaces are just encouraging people to use drugs. But so far, Windsor's site is showing us that the community is relying on it for other resources. At this time, SafePoint has been open for nearly 2 months. And a recent report tells us that between April 26th, opening day, and the end of May, the site was visited 74 times by 32 people. In May, most of those visits were by people between the ages of 25 and 64, and many were men. Crystal meth is the drug of choice, and most people are injecting substances. No one has overdosed on site.
Well, the numbers that we're seeing are right on trend with what we expected based on conversations we've had with other operating sites in the province. And we know that it's going to take some time to continue to build up trust within the community of our clients.
It's trust not only with SafePoint users, but also nearby businesses. Salon owner Antoine Drej is happy to hear the space is helping people, but he still wishes it were somewhere else.
People are concerned, people are afraid. In about 4 months, like 7 clients, they've been coming to me for like 30 years. They quit coming because of it.
Drej says his building has been for sale for the past year, but there's been no takers. SafePoint's location is temporary, and a site selection committee is working to find it a permanent home. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
This area has a deep history of labor movements, one that the Windsor and District Labor Council wants to chronicle and preserve. The CBC's Dale Moner takes a look at how.
The labor community gathered at the Serbian Center Thursday night to honor 8 people in the Firefighters Union with the Gary L. Parent Activist Awards. The awards are named after legendary labor leader Gary Parent, who has himself been instrumental as an activist in the labor movement in Windsor through his work at Local 444 and a longtime president of the Labor Council.
Well, activism really in our community is beyond the 4 walls of a workplace. And it means that people go out of their way, do a tremendous lot of work in trying to attain a better community for everybody, not just labor people, but for everybody.
The OPSU vice president from St. Clair College, Ken Acton, received the Activism Award for Public Education. He received the award in part for spearheading a committee that is gathering memorabilia, historic information, and interviews with people such as Parent to preserve the history of the labor movement in Windsor.
Is to ensure that the youth and younger generations coming up understand what was fought for, what was gained, and how communities overall really rely on people to come forward and give back.
The Labor Council is partnering with the Capitol Theatre to do the video interviews. Former CBC reporter Percy Hatfield will be conducting them. He says it's important to hear the stories from people who were there.
You know, people like Gary Parent, for example, the man with the biggest heart in labor. He's been there from day one.
There are still some decisions to make as to how the videos will be presented to the public. The Labor Council intends to put the memorabilia and historic artifacts on display at the Public Library and the Chimchuk Museum. They hope to have the project complete sometime this year. If you have memorabilia related to the labor movement in Windsor, such as badges or buttons or other things, the Labor Council would like to hear from you. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
It is National Indigenous History Month, and to help mark it, at the University of Windsor, you can now find a list of resources on how to be an Indigenous ally, with information like responsibilities as an ally and settler history of the land. It was curated by the Indigenous Outreach Librarian at the Luddy Library with support from Jamie Kishko, the school's learning specialist in the field of indigenization. They say it's a great place to start for those looking to learn.
I know it's difficult when we don't know stuff and it's hard to reach out and make that first step. But all I can say is, you know, the more allies that we have, the more people that understand indigenization and decolonization and why these things are so important. You know, the more they understand the Indian Act, the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action, murdered and missing Indigenous women's reports, that it could be a good thing for everybody, not just Indigenous people, but for society as a whole.
And shifting to an ally means putting someone else's voice before yours. It involves being a learner, but it also involves a level of discomfort.
I want to ask you more about that, Jennifer, because earlier in the conversation, you acknowledged that you are a settler and that your compilation of this list was driven by the things that you have learned. And I wonder if you can speak to that. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned as an ally?
Well, the most painful consistently is I'm going to keep making mistakes. And I hate making mistakes. It's painful. So, but luckily I have good friends who say, Jennifer, and so I can correct my mistakes. So that's probably the most painful one, having to live with that discomfort and then being side blinded by discomfort. I naively think, okay, I'm doing okay now. I haven't done anything really dumb for a little while now. And I'm 4 months in, I'm going, yeah. And then something happens, and I'm going, oh dear. So you just keep picking yourself up, because I've always found, ironically, that you remember your lessons better the more embarrassed you are.
So what I would say to allies is when you make a mistake, you have to acknowledge that mistake. Think about what you learned from it so that you won't do it again. And then move on. Don't dwell on it. I make mistakes still too every day in Western academia. And I don't know if I'll ever be a pro, but I do know that I have enough confidence in myself that when I make a mistake, I'm going to ask, first I'm going to say I'm sorry. My intention was not to hurt or to derive or take anything away from you. It was an honest mistake, and I'd like to learn how to not do it again.
I just want to take a moment here now to let you all know that I'm going to be stepping away from hosting for just a little while. This is my last show before going off on maternity leave, and I just want to thank you all for being so kind. I've received some very nice messages, and I really, really appreciate it. I also want to thank my colleagues for being the best while supporting very pregnant me, from helping me out while out in the field to making sure I have a fan always blowing in my direction so that I don't get overheated while doing the show. I really appreciate that. Chris and Jason are going to step into host for the next little bit, so you'll be in great hands, and I will be back next year. Thank you for always welcoming me and welcoming us into your homes and your phones, however you watch the show. I'm really going to miss doing this. I'm going to miss you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you all soon because I will be back. We're going to take a few moments, and then we'll have your weather right after the break. Stay with us. What a difference 24 hours makes. Rays of sun shining through those clouds today, and we are looking at a beautiful weekend. Victor Paolo has our full forecast.
Katerina, happy Friday. Most importantly, when it comes to what we're expecting over the next couple of hours here in Windsor and the surrounding areas, I got great news. It's looking like sunshine and clear skies for our near future. Right around now, it is 6 o'clock and it is 23 degrees. Right around midnight tonight, it's going to drop down to 12, which is a bit chilly, but you know what? It's going to pick right back up by 8 o'clock in the morning. And by the time we get to midday in the late afternoon on Saturday, it's going to be a beautiful 26 with a touch of cloud cover. Now, looking at the map of North America here to see a couple of trends, you do see all that heat down here in the south of North America. But earlier this week, a lot of Ontario was looking a lot greener. But as you do see, it's getting warmer with the yellow colors coming in. Dark yellow around Toronto and Windsor and the Ottawa area, which means things are getting a bit warm, but not too warm. Just enough that we can enjoy a nice weekend for Father's Day. Now, looking at what we can expect weather-wise when it comes to right now, all the way through till the overnight, as you see, clear skies, which is great. Clear skies means overnight you can see all of those beautiful stars, as well as during the day when it comes to the weekend here. You do see that clear skies means you get to really enjoy all of that sun that'll be coming in, feel all of its heat, and not have any cloud cover to interrupt. Now, when it comes to what we can expect for later on Saturday, all the way through till the overnight, well, the good news is it's a consistent story for the surrounding regions. It's going to be clear skies. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be not too warm. It's going to be not too cold. It's going to be just right for a weekend we can all enjoy. Now, looking at Sunday morning, again, a repeat of what we had on Saturday, which I don't think any of us are complaining about. It's going to be a beautiful clear sky day, which is going to be nice and warm as well. It's going to start off maybe 15, 16 degrees, and it's going to get up to in the mid-20s by the time we're all said and done. Now, looking at our 3-day forecast, as well as what we can expect when it comes to rain, not that much rain expected over the next 3 days, only 2 millimeters expected in Kingston. And when it comes to temperatures that we're expecting, as you do see, we're in store for nothing but beautiful mid-20s when it comes to the week. When it comes to next week, it's going to be even more sunshine. Hope you all have a great Father's Day weekend, and back to you, Katerina.
When we come back, the latest out of Manitoba following a devastating tragedy. Stay with us. Life in the small Manitoba city of Dauphin may never be the same after one of the worst highway accidents in Canadian history. Families of the 15 seniors who died in yesterday's crash are reeling. And today, police are studying the site to determine whether it was an accident or a crime, while the city prays for the 10 injured who remain in hospital. Aaron Collins has more.
This stretch of highway just north of Carberry, Manitoba, tells its own story. From the skid marks on the ground to the stop sign knocked down onto the area where one of the deadliest crashes in Canadian history came to a fiery end. Investigators here still working to uncover just how the unthinkable could have happened. The debris gone now, a key to understanding this tragic tale. A bus carrying seniors to a nearby casino struck by an eastbound semi while crossing the #1 highway, killing 15 people, sending 10 more to hospital. Now, Mounties here know what happened here on the Trans-Canada Highway late Thursday morning. Now they're trying to piece together just how this crash unfolded and whether this is simply the site of an unthinkable tragedy or if it's also a crime scene.
Even at the outset of an investigation such as this, we need to be alive to the fact that there could be wrongdoing. And if so, there could be a criminal element to this investigation.
Of course, no matter how this crash came about, the real impact of it is felt here in Dauphin. The seniors who died or were hurt in the crash are from this area. This community reeling from the people they know they've lost and those whose fate remains unclear.
As information came in, obviously we were concerned first and foremost of any accident. And then when we found out that it was some people from our community, a heightened level of concern. And then an even higher level of concern once we learned the number of people that were involved and the severity of the accident. 10
people injured in the crash remain in hospital in Winnipeg and Brandon. They range in age from the early 60s to the late 80s.
We have a total of 6 patients in critical care at the Health Sciences Centre with severe injuries. A number have received operations and more operations are planned, but these injuries are quite significant.
Of the victims still in hospital injured in this crash, 6 are in critical care, 4 more are in a surgical unit. The final toll of this tragedy yet to be determined. Aaron Collins, CBC News near Carberry, Manitoba.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke about the tragedy earlier today from Montreal.
I want to express all my deepest sympathies and condolences to the people of Carberry, Manitoba, and the folks who have lost loved ones, who are living through moments of tremendous anguish right now. I think of the people who are in hospital now with injuries. I can't imagine what these families are going through. It, of course, brings back memories of other terrible incidents like in Humboldt, Saskatchewan.
The Prime Minister says the flag on top of Ottawa's Peace Tower will be at half-mast in honor of the crash victims. And tonight on The National, CBC News will continue our in-depth coverage of the unfolding tragedy in the aftermath of yesterday's terrible crash in Manitoba. Ian Hannah-Mansing is hosting live from Dauphin. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on CBC Television, and streaming on CBC Gem, CBC News Explore, and the CBC News app. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. Before we go, I want to wish everybody a very, very happy Father's Day, and a happy Father's Day to my dad. I love you so much. For more news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you all. As you know, it's my last show before I go on maternity leave. I'm going to miss you, but I'll see you all again very soon. Have a good one.